Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. For today, I'm going to share with you about ASEAN way of non-interference policy. I'm getting back to my reading habit, and I found this title to be intrigued me, caught my curiosity by Kishore Mahbubani and Jeffrey Sung, which is the ASEAN Miracle, a Catalyst for Peace. And on top of that, also I've read in the news that there's a South China Sea dispute where ASEAN are responsible to, well, giving opinions, do something about the dispute, because, well, South China Sea is for everyone. Literally, it's for everyone. The sea is for everyone. It has been stipulated in the international law, actually. So, and then suddenly China claims for it. It's kind of like somebody needs to do something. It's sort of like that. So, but then again, a recent response by ASEAN in 2020, 14 November, if I'm not mistaken, ASEAN seems to being observed, or simply observe the situation, and not much of comment towards that. They probably have a meeting, but the world still waiting for the ASEAN's response for it. So before we going further to the issue, to the why I linked to my reading by Kishore Mahbubani, the ASEAN Miracle. So allow me to explain to you first what is the ASEAN ways of non-interference policy. Okay, for starter, the term ASEAN way has been used to describe the development and practices of ASEAN. There's not much of definition for this. It's not specific, rather quite abstract actually. So despite the lack of a clear definition, the term ASEAN way often refers to a mechanism of dispute management through the process of consensus and consultation. Researcher Acharya stressed in his article that the ASEAN way as socio-cultural norms which are separate from ASEAN norms. So according to him, ASEAN norms comprise the non-use of force, regional reliance, non-interference in domestic affairs, and avoidance in a military alliance, while the ASEAN way is characterized by compromise and consultation, consensus building, ambiguity, avoidance of strict reciprocity, and rejection of hard legalization. ASEAN way was not only about the principles agreed amongst members, but also operated in a social-cultural sense. For instance, the concept of ASEAN way came in the course of the 1990s to be used together with Asian values, despite a clear distinction between the two, which was often pointed out not only by external actors but also by the ASEAN members themselves. Like the ASEAN way, Asian values too have no clear definitions. Asian values derive primarily from Asian civilization and culture, which stresses collectivism, social discipline, and hierarchical authority in comparison to Western individualism. Even though Malaysia's Mahathir and Singapore's Lee Kuan Yew were both well-known Asian values advocates, their countries are respectively mainly different in terms of Malaysia in terms of Islamic, and Singapore as in Confucian, with a lot of other cultural elements. Even the political backgrounds are also different. So why ASEAN non-interference? Is it non-interference? So is it like they are not being totally, avoiding all those sorts of interfering other states' matters? Technically, briefly, I would say that they are not allowed to interfere, of course, but only on certain matters, certain perspective. I will tell you later. But not in terms of interfering, actually, in which they are allowed to intervene. Yeah, it's kind of confusing actually. Interference and intervene is kind of like similarly same same synonym words, but in international relation concept is, although the same terms, those synonyms can be distinct meaning. So intervene, they can't interfering, like tak boleh nak kipoci ambil tahu sangat pasal the other states punya regional, the other states punya hal rumah tangga. But in terms of intervene, it's kind of like you're legally on a certain situation scenario, like when it comes to human rights issues or probably environmental dispute, something like that. That is thing that you should probably get into it, do something to make it stop. So under ASEAN way, there's a five principles. Although earlier we've been getting to ASEAN way definition, it's not much of a exact definition as such. It's like abstract meaning concept, but there is principles that the ASEAN organization needs to follow. There are 5. One of them is consultation and consensus, musyawarah and muafakat. We have conflict management. Thirdly is non-interference policy. I will tell you more about this later. And then informal bilateral arrangements. Last but not least is avoidance of any formal military security arrangements, because ASEAN are very much wants to keep it into harmony methods. So it will be best not to get the military involved in resolving the dispute. So regarding these principles that I've mentioned, actually it has been stipulated in the ASEAN law itself and already been signed by the ASEAN state members. So bear with me, I'm gonna just read it all to you, all of this in under Articles 2, which is principles. In pursuit of the purpose stated in Article 1, ASEAN and its member states reaffirm that adhere to the fundamental principles contained in the declarations, agreements, conventions, concords, treaties, and other instruments of ASEAN. The next part says here, ASEAN and its member states shall act in accordance with the following principles. Clause A, respect for the independence, sovereignty, equality, territorial integrity, and national identity of all ASEAN member states. Shared commitment and collective responsibility in enhancing regional peace, security, and prosperity. C. Renunciation of aggression and the threat of use of force or other actions in any manner inconsistent with international law. D. Reliance on peaceful settlement of disputes. E. Non-interference in the internal affairs of ASEAN state members. F. Respect for the right of every member state to lead its national existence free from external interference, subversion, and coercion. G. Enhance consultation on matters seriously affecting the common interests of ASEAN. H. Adherence to the rule of law, good governance, the principles of democracy, and constitutional government. I. Respect for fundamental freedoms, the promotion and protection of human rights, and the promotion of social justice. Upholding the United Nations Charter and international law, including international humanitarian law subscribed to by ASEAN state members. K. Abstention from participation in any policy or activity, including the use of its territory, pursued by any ASEAN state member state or non-ASEAN state or any non-state actor which threatens the sovereignty, territorial integrity, or political and economic stability of ASEAN member states. L. Respect for the different cultures, languages, and religions of the people of ASEAN, while emphasizing their common values in the spirit of unity in diversity. M. In the setting of ASEAN in external political, economic, social, and cultural relations, while remaining actively engaged, outward-looking, inclusive, and non-discriminatory. And N. Adherence to multilateral trade rules and ASEAN's rule-based regimes for effective implementation of economic commitments and progressive reduction towards elimination of all barriers to regional economic integration in a market-driven economy. So basically, ASEAN is not trying being ignorant, it's just that they try to respect each other to that point. There is possibility that some countries, some states, not just the EU itself, disagree to this point, but also some of the ASEAN state members not considering this is a good point. The policy is a good thing because there are some of the ASEAN states itself in need, or really need to be, the assistance from other states in terms of their economic development, or maybe because on some point that their regional dispute feels like getting out of hand, so they will need other third party involvement to slow down the riot, slow down the heat. Some ASEAN state members itself disagree if the ASEAN state members interfering into their regional dispute. Like Indonesia, there are some issues where it may sound like regional issues category, like the haze dispute happens in 2019. The second haze dispute, Indonesia was stated that they don't need help from ASEAN countries or even Malaysia to put a stop to their fire. They can do it by their own. This is their regional state problem. So according to the Act, as stated, and principles being highlighted by ASEAN, when it comes to environmental problems, something like this, human rights, it is something that exceptionally cannot be ignored. So whether they like it or not, on that point, ASEAN will have to step into the matters to help Indonesia. Only a few issues that are ASEAN ignores. Not every issue is actually they step in. For example, like East Timor issue in 1974, ASEAN remains silent and generally supporting Indonesia's claims. And for the last year, 2020 issue, which is South China Sea. Yeah, this one I kind of wonder actually, but it's kind of complicated at the same time. I was thinking it's probably because it has to do with ASEAN non-interference policy. South China Sea, where China claimed the South China Sea as to be part of their own. Not only just claim, they also built their military base and whatsoever at somewhere at the center of it. So so the whole world somehow feel like shocked, like ASEAN, why are you being quiet, or you're being observant to this, you have to do something. So basically, citing from the Pizarro Ghazali Idris by the Asia Pacific website in Jakarta, Indonesia, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN, on Thursday expressed its hope for an effective and substantive code of conduct for all activities in the South China Sea. So addressing the opening ceremony of the 37th ASEAN Summit as the current chair, Vietnam's Prime Minister Nguyen Xuan Phuc reaffirmed the bloc's determination to maintain peace, stability, and security in the South China Sea, ASEAN has also expressed consistently its principled position and a strong commitment to turning the South China Sea, a critical sea lane of the region and the world, into a sea of peace, stability, security, and safety for the free flow of goods, where differences and disputes are settled through peaceful means, where the law is fully respected and observed and the common values are upheld, he said. So Nguyen underscored the importance of the 1982 United Nations Conventions for the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, as the legal framework within which all activities in oceans and seas must be carried out. At the same time, we look forward to the early conclusion of the Code of Conduct, which is effective, substantive, and consistent with international law, particularly the 1982 UNCLOS. Meanwhile, Indonesian President Joko Widodo also stressed the importance of ASEAN's role in maintaining regional peace and stability. Given the US-China rivalry, he said it is very normal that both of them want ASEAN nations on their side, making it imperative for the bloc to maintain its balance and strengthen mutually beneficial cooperation. In 2019, ASEAN and China completed the first reading of the draft of the Code of Conduct that was announced at the ASEAN ministerial meeting in Singapore a year earlier. The Code of Conduct is expected to be finalized by 2021 to resolve conflicts in the resource-rich sea. The South China Sea, a crucial passage for a significant portion of the world's commercial shipping, is bordered by Brunei, Cambodia, China, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand, and Vietnam. It says here China claims roughly 90% of the sea, which encompasses an area of around 2.5 million square kilometers, which is 1.4 million square miles. Yeah. Okay, so back to the non-interference principle aspects. Sorry, I guess feeling dizzy? Never mind, just bear with me. Okay, so the principles of non-interference should follow these four main aspects. One is refraining from criticizing the actions of a member government towards its own people, including violation of human rights. Second, criticizing the actions of states which were deemed to have breached the non-interference principle. 3. Denying recognition, sanctuary, or other forms of support to any rebel group seeking to destabilize or overthrow the government of neighboring state. 4. Providing political support and material assistance to member states in their campaign against subversive and destabilizing activities. So from that point, it's like, so to be fair, instead of limiting the policy to the outsiders, probably we need to we apply it to among the state members itself. To be fair, there's probably other reason as well, but generally it's part of the it's like part of the fair play, and to put respect and believe that every states have their own capabilities to resolve their state dispute, unless on certain degree of problem like involving human rights, environmental. There's probably other categories as well, depending. Some scholars and policymakers viewed this policy as strict and rigid. I'm not sure why, but I was thinking it's probably because South China Sea has nothing much to do with ASEAN. It's not about human rights or environmental problem or so, or perhaps because of other interests. That's probably one of the possible why. Based on the news that I've shared with you guys earlier, it's not necessarily that ASEAN are keeping it quiet. Actually, they probably have their own reason, unknown reason, and also probably because of taking care of good relation with China, because ASEAN has close ties with China. China had a good position in economic, and to keep the to keep a long-lasting relation, there probably some part of the decision have to be sacrificed and such. Consider something like shaking the feeling of harmony and feeling of peacefulness among state members of ASEAN as well. It's not directly, but rather it's kind of psychologically there feels like, oh, this doesn't feel so good. You have to do something. In any way, disclaimer, I not consider myself a professional in this field, but it was interesting to discuss about. And if you have any something to comment or discuss to add, you may comment in the link below. No, not in the link. The comment in the comment box below. So it's a good thing. It's a good discussion. I'm looking forward to see your perspective about this. That's all for today. Thank you. Wish you good health. Bye.